Thursday, and it's cold out there. For those of you who've been applying for visas and you've been bounced over and over again, this is the time to feel like you're in Europe or some cold.
Somewhere.
Yeah, God knows how to settle everybody. So this morning is settling everybody. Good morning, guys.
Good morning. That's if their desire to travel is just because of the weather. Because certainly after the cold weather blows and you feel like you're you're outside, when you step out and you see the filth on the street, you remember you are in Ghana.
But still like that, not going anywhere.
Yes, you haven't moved that
guys, there are those who go to the embassies and tell them, oh, I just want to go and see them.
Oh, really? People do that?
Yeah.
Really?
No.
For the amount of money they pay, it's just to go and touch the ground and
pay close to 7,000 for flights, just to go and feel the weather.
What is not possible in Africa?
It's just a deception. I mean, the real desire is to go out there and work.
For example, like today,
kind of life.
the courts that the Chief Justice has set will start sitting on the TV license thing. So anything is possible in this country. I mean,
certainly.
You just have to believe.
You certainly just have to believe. And of course, you believed in us. And of course, you made us the best morning show here in Ghana. And certainly, we're so grateful to you. But it's 2018. We are in the 4th day of 2018. That alone means you are blessed because someone didn't make it through from 2017 into 2018. So, of course, as you go out there, say a prayer, thank your God, thank your stars that you made it into today. But, of course, it would have been, Bright's weekend starting. But he's not here. We'll try and start it for those of you who have joined his bandwagon, certainly. And those of us who will wait till tomorrow definitely will be here to make you have a good day.
Bright has gone out there to fish for some more stories. So he'll be back certainly to bring you some more details. But George.
And also, I would say don't be scared to challenge the status quo.
Right.
Don't follow the ordinary.
What is the status quo? Charlie, I'm talking TV license code. You're talking status quo. What are you talking about?
The regular. What everyone has perceived to be the normal. Change something,
so
do
when
something different.
GBC thinks that we should pay TV license.
If we get to understand why, if it is not content and it is for some other reason that we all appreciate, then why not?
But if it's for content?
Certainly not. What does GB? Never
the law says it is for owning the set.
Exactly.
The TV set.
That's what the law says.
But somebody is also arguing that, look, the definition of the law, what the law says, and the kind of television sets that we have these days, the law doesn't describe it as such because you're supposed to be receiving it via radio. Some do satellite, which is digital. So then the law, those ones do not qualify.
Johnny, I think it's obvious that the law is obsolete at this point. It must be, looked at and reformed. Certainly when it's reviewed and we all seem to understand the content of the law, it will be easy to pull out, this levy and how we should pay and why we should pay and all that.
Anyway, so later in the show, we'll be having somebody who's been in the seat before, being at the helm of affairs, who's had to take some of these decisions. He'll share with us his perspective on all of what's happened. But Josh,
I know Giba also, called on the Director General.
Yes,
the one who
Giba, NMC is also called. So there's a series of meetings, and if you listen to all of them, they think that they are not necessarily against the levy or the fee. They're against the institution of the courts to deal with it. They think that it is gazumping. And in any case, if you go to the UK. Nobody will institute a court for you to do, but in the UK you are served a bill. So when you go and buy your TV set, whoever you bought the TV set from has an obligation to send your details to the TV license folks to serve you a bill. In our situation, we're told to voluntarily go and pay and to go onto a mobile money portal or whichever it is. And I find that quite strange because making it voluntary, whereas the law says it is mandatory, there's a bit of...
You know what my friend Sinima said?
Anyway, George, let's hear the news now.
All right, so it's now time for news here on your favorite morning show, New Day. My name is George Quinn, and I'm serving you a news here on New Day. And we start off from the presidency, where President Nana Akufo-Addo has praised the growing influence of Ghanaians in the Confederation of African Football, CAF, during a courtesy call on him by CAF President Dr. Ahmed Ahmed. Ghana Football Association President Kwesi Nyantakyi as CAF Vice President, while as International Tony Bafo as Deputy General Secretary. There are other Ghanaians too on the various CAF bodies, something that pleases the Ghanaian President.
praised the unflinching effort of President of the Ghana Football Association, who doubles as the first Vice President of Confederation of African Football, CAF, Kwesi Nyantakyi, Justice of the Supreme Court of Ghana, Justice Enini Yeboah, and Tony Bafo, Deputy General Secretary of CAF, as shining examples of Ghana's current contribution to the development of football at the highest level. He pledged Ghana's support for the development of football at all levels.
If there's one continent in the world where football is a passion, it is the African continent. And within that continent, there's no place with more greater passion for football than Ghana. And we're grateful that you have chosen to recognize our country's involvement in African football by hosting the ceremony here in Ghana. It's an honor for us. It is extremely important that the development of African football continues to be a high priority for all the various nations of Africa.
President of CAF Ahmad promised to work more closely with Ghana to ensure both Ghana and the rest of Africa develop their football industries. The CAF president formally invited President Akufo-Addo to grace the CAF award ceremony, which comes off on Thursday here in Ghana.
Still staying at the Flagstaff House, the parish priest of the Christ the King Church, Father Campbell, has praised President Akufo-Addo for his policies geared towards improving living standards of Ghanaians, especially the poor. The Catholic priest, who led the entire council of his parish to pay a courtesy call on the president at the Flagstaff House, urged the president to ignore critics of his policies and remain focused.
Reverend Father Campbell said government decision to introduce free secondary education is a much welcome development, particularly by the church, which has been at the forefront of helping to get Ghanaian children educated. He urged the president to focus on the program and to address all implementation challenges that have arisen or may arise in the execution of the program.
We are well placed to assess the impact of such a transformative policy on most families in Ghana and also offer some comment. Please do not be disillusioned by your critics and the implementation difficulties you will encounter. Sir, you're on the right path and you do have our full support. Your decision and action on illegal mining or galamsey menace, though a very difficult decision, you managed to implement it and deserve commendation.
President Akufo-Addo assured him of government resolve to improve the living conditions of the people and pledged support for the Weija leprosarium.
The improvement in the quality of our landscape and in the environment and of a system that will therefore perpetuate itself in trying to improve and seeing to it that we don't return back to the bad old days in handling our environment. So once again, I appreciate the support that you have exhibited for it. It's part and parcel of the wider fight to sanitize our social relations. There's issues of corruption or indiscipline in the manner in which people, it's all part and parcel of the same goal, that we can build a healthy nation with public services that provide exactly that, public service to our people, and whose focus are on what can be done to improve the conditions of life of the ordinary people of our country.
Meanwhile, President Akufo-Addo has revealed an interdenominational Thanksgiving service will be held on Sunday to mark the silver jubilee of the coming into force of Ghana's fourth Republican Constitution.
It'll be exactly 25 years, 7th of January 2018, since His Excellency Jerry John Rawlings was sworn into office on the 7th of January 1993. A country that in the space of 60 years has gone through 4 republics. This has proved to be by far the longest surviving, the most enduring of the republics that we've had. The first republic lasted, what, 5.5 years, the second one 2.5 years, the third one another 2.5 years. This has been in existence for 25 continuous years. I think it's a milestone worth celebrating. It reflects the attachment of the Ghanaian people to the principles of democratic accountability. We were told for years that democracy would breed instability, ethnic rivalries. On the contrary, democracy in Ghana has proved to be a unifying force, has proved to be a force for stability in our country. And in the process, Ghana has become a sort of a beacon, a byword for democratic engagement on the African continent. I think these are matters that rebound very much to the credit of the Ghanaian people, because it is at their instance and it is at their will that this stability and the attachment to democratic institutions has been made possible. So I'm organizing an interfaith commemorative service on Sunday at 4 o'clock in the afternoon at Independence Square, where I'm hoping all the great and good of Ghana will assemble for us to pay the relevant thanks to the Almighty for having brought us this far.
Away from the presidency, let's move to the law court, where it has emerged teenagers who raped a girl in a gang rape video that went viral are primary students. Authorities from the schools have been ordered by the Asokwa District Court to produce the ages of suspects who are standing trial for allegedly gang raping a teenage girl in Kumasi in the Ashanti region.
The document is signed by the registrar of the court named Mo Mary Primary School, St. Anthony Roman Catholic Primary School and Wewesu Metropolitan Primary School, which are all in Kumasi and Obuasi. The schools of 3 of the suspects, excluding one, were copied the orders prepared. However, it is unknown why the other school was not prepared a copy. Sitting was expected to be held on the matter on Wednesday, January 3, but could not come off. The teenagers were picked up as suspects who participated in a gang rape in a video which went viral on social media. With no show in court, the suspects are still on remand at the juvenile cells of the Ghana Police Service. They are to reappear in court on January 10.
All is set for the special parliamentary sitting on Friday. Information from the Public Affairs Directorate of Parliament indicates there has been a positive response from all members to be present for the sitting.
Parliament has been recalled from recess for a special sitting on Friday following a motion by the minority. Head of the Public Affairs Directorate, Kate Addo, said it is going to be a normal sitting following the normal parliamentary proceedings.
All is set for the House to sit on Friday. You see the usual things that happen, the opening prayer, and then the motion proceedings will be corrected. Then the agenda for the day will be dealt with. Don't forget that in the last parliament, which is the 6th parliament, we had a similar situation when the minority then, which is now the majority, requested for a sitting of the House. So we have precedents, to base Friday's activities on.
The minority's motion was earlier described as unnecessary by the majority leader, but the Speaker admitted it anyway, calling for the special sitting. Some experts, however, anticipate a dismissal of the motion by the Speaker during the sitting based on the fact that the issue is not of urgent national importance as claimed by the minority.
Depending on which side of the political divide you are on, you may hold a particular view. But ultimately, what happens is that our democracy is improving. I've also heard talk about the fact that it may cost the nation some money. Yes, democracy is expensive, but ultimately it's cheaper when you compare it to the absence of democracy.
The special sitting is scheduled for 10 a.m. Friday, January 5.
Away from the legislature, let's move on to the labor front, where the Labor Department says it will from this year shut down hospitality industries and companies which fail to comply with the payment of the daily minimum wage. According to the department, this would ensure that employers who deliberately flout the law desist from doing so or risk losing their businesses. The National Chief Labor Officer, Eugene Kolute, gave the warning in an interview with TV3.
The Chief Labor Officer was sternly reacting to concerns by some employees in the private sector on the daily minimum wage. These employees for the past 5 years have complained that their employers do not respect the payment of the minimum wage. For the 2017-2018, the national tripartite agreed on 8 cedis, representing 10% of the daily minimum wage. For this, every month an employee will receive more than 200 cedis as a take-home pay. But most of these companies do flout the regulation, which has angered the National Chief Labor Officer, Eugene Colette. For this year, he has cautioned employers to respect the payment to the minimum wage or risk shutting down their businesses.
The minimum wage, let me mention that there are no sacrifices there. You need to pay the minimum wage. You need to pay the minimum wage because it's the wage that can sustain the worker, to enable the worker also perform his or her best in sustaining the organization that he works for.
However, a major issue the Chief Labor Officer has to contend with is the simmering labor agitations awaiting him for this year. Some of the labor unions have complained that they will not tolerate excuses from government if it delays to resolve their grievances. Currently, the Coalition of Concerned Teachers has served notice of strike, but the Chief Labor Officer pleaded with stakeholders to respect the laws.
It's important that we respect the law. In fact, as the department will be pursuing vigorously our major activity, which is labor inspections, so that we are able to bring partners to conform to the requirements of the law.
In a related development, the Chief Labor Officer, Eugene Colette, has implored workers to also notify the Labor Department whenever they are being laid off.
Where the employer is not furnishing us with information, you, the worker who is going to fall a victim to that, you must quickly inform the Labor Department. Any nearest Labor Department, we have the offices scattered all over the country. But we also play our role that is required to ensure that there is sanity.
The Coalition for Democratic Governance, CDG, is calling on government to withdraw the 2018 budget for its bloated allocation to the office of the president. It said the expenditure at the presidency is wasteful and that the president is not protecting the public purse as he promised, but rather overburdening it.
A total of 454,167,449 cedis was approved for the office of the president in the 2018 budget. Out of the total amount, 81 million cedis was approved for compensation, 272 million cedis for goods and services, and 100 million cedis for capital expenditure. The group questioned why the budget estimate for goods and services at the presidency far exceeds the total capital expenditure of 257 million cedis for the Ministry of Trade and Industry and the Ministry of Energy put together. Similarly, it questioned why the entire Ministry of Railway Development was allocated 150 million cedis for capital expenditure, while the presidency gets 272 million cedis for goods and services.
The government is saying they are protecting the purse of the nation. And we are saying they are protecting it indeed, because they are not actually protecting it. They are dissipating the funds and making use of it to make themselves rich. The allocation of the president should be drastically reduced. What actually is the government doing?
It said the wasteful expenditure at the presidency is causing key growth sectors to be denied resources to spur economic growth and development.
I think it is not fair to the nation, because our development depends on what the ministries do. The monies they get, the projects they put across, and so you have the development. But if you give something like 6 million to the Ministry of Education, and you have that huge sum of money only for goods and supply, how can education come on? Especially at this point when we need money badly for the free SHS.
The group called on the President, Nana Akufo-Addo, to immediately scrap the Ministry of Special Initiative and Development as it is performing the duties of other ministries.
We are appealing to the government to review the 2018 budget and also totally scrap the Ministry for Special Development Initiative. It's a waste of money, it's unnecessary, it's repetitive. If not, we will be forced to hit the streets to ensure that some justice is done to our public purse.
Poor patronage and flooding are still the reasons cited by traders who sell on the pavement in front of the pedestrian shopping mall at Odona. Some of the traders are also still there because they are yet to be compensated after their shops got destroyed during the construction of the interchange.
Upon entering the pedestrian shopping mall, I had already started counting shops that were locked. I met two executives of the pedestrian shopping mall welfare. Ben Ochi agreed to take me round.
You can see this place. All this place is empty. All this place is empty. The shops, as you can see, is belong to individuals. The market is about 4,000 plus. The patronage is low, and the flood too is one of the biggest problems here. It's about 200 plus. They just abandoned. We want them to fill the inside of the market so that the market, the patronage and the improvement of the market will go high.
The AMA says they are going to do a decongestion exercise. Are you aware?
We are aware.
When were you made aware?
Yesterday I saw the news that they have given them 1 week to evacuate from the place. Even those outside there, they are aware that after the December they will leave. The AMA didn't put any official. I don't know whether maybe it's just on the way coming.
A trader who spoke of Kamu said they had all planned to move back to the shopping mall by Monday. After the shopping mall's boundaries, there were still traders who had lined up there. This trader admitted their act was unlawful. I am aware selling on the pavement is unlawful, but we are pleading with authorities for an additional 1 week to move from here. Meanwhile, some of the traders on the pavements within the pedestrian shopping mall's boundaries, who were told, had their shops demolished due to the construction of the interchange.
Almost 2 years.
My shop got demolished during the construction of the interchange 2 years ago. I haven't been compensated. The matter is still in court.
There are 315 affected members. If the assembly say they will sack them, that one we cannot stop them. But they should do the appropriate thing. They should make sure that the compensation will come.
My mission here to bring you the news is over, but you can get more news updates on our website, 3news.com. Samuel Obin, I know you're watching from Kwabenya. A very good morning to you. And that's it. Thanks for watching. Good morning.
Welcome back. So it's time for headlines. We'll start off with today, and it says Indum is to receive special award at the 43rd SWAG Awards. Of course, GHS, Ghana Health Service, also allays fears of meningitis outbreak. Then Galamsey seem to have changed location, and they move operations to the Upper West region. These are the stories carried by today. Certainly, but Johnny, let me touch on one that is not a headline, but it has to be spoken about. There's a story that today carries, it says, stop mandatory sale of first aid boxes, and that's from the minority to DVLA.
That's on page 2, right?
It is on page 2 of today. Apparently, now we are tasking, people who are going to register their cars to, by force, as it were, buy a first aid box from the DVLA at a cost of about 108 cedis. And I think that's not right. If you think I need to have a first aid box, then just inform me that you need it. It should be, of course, we all know it's a prerequisite. So the person can buy wherever they want, but you can't tie them to the fact that they have to buy it at DVLA for 108 cedis, because there may be first aid boxes out there that cost cheaper. And if that's what I want, CDs, exactly, why then do I have to come and necessarily pay 108? I don't know who then is at fault. Definitely, of course, DVLA has been mentioned. If this story is true, then of course they have to be tasked to withdraw that. You can't force it on an adult. They have a will. They can decide what they want to do, where they want to get their first aid boxes. So if this practice is going on at DVLA, of course, then your attention has been drawn to that fact, and something has to be done about it as soon as possible.
I find it quite surprising because the minority spokesperson on roads and transport, Kwame Akpoja, MP for Adaklu, is livid about it, and thinks that, well, it should be stopped. So first we would want to know what went into the thinking for DVLA to say
decide.
somebody should come and buy their first aid boxes from them, because it's mandatory. If you go and request for a license, you will be told to buy it, and I think that is tied to it, sort of. So if you walk into the DVLA office and you had, say, 90 CDs or 100 CDs for your license, then you will have to go and look for the 108 and add on before you can get. That's a big surprise onto you. I mean, really. So what happens to those who previously had first aid boxes in their cars, and so would they have to throw it away? But what also must the first aid box contain? I mean, you're a doctor. Run us through a regular first aid box, small one for your car. What must it entail?
For me, I think the basic supplies. So at least you need something like cotton, you need gauze, you need an antiseptic, basically plaster, some adhesive of a sort to keep it down. These, and then of course, when it comes to medications, at least something like painkillers, analgesics of any sort. But for this, you may not even need the medication. So basically, the gauze, the cotton, the plaster, adhesive, and an antiseptic.
So let's hazard a guess.
Johnny, certainly putting it all together, I won't reach
No. We want to fact check. So GOT is like 8 CDs, right?
Give or take.
Or maybe 10 CDs. Let's say 10 CDs. Yeah. Then plaster 5 CDs, right? Yeah. Then what again? Antiseptic.
Yes.
That's how much?
You can use let's say 10 CDs.
10 CDs. Okay. So that's 25 CDs, give or take. Then what else? Then the box itself. So let's say the box is 20 CDs. Or even 10 CDs.
Well, you may need a small pair of scissors or a cutting.
A small pair, okay, so 5 CDs. If you go to Kanesh, you can get your 5 CDs. So 10 plus 5, that's 40 CDs in total. So 50 CDs. But this is 108. And so I'm wondering, well, I'm told that iodine or Genshiva, do we still use those?
Well, yeah, you could, but it sort of forms an antiseptic. If you have a good antiseptic, it sort of incorporates the two sometimes.
Right, so so let's say 50 CDs, because then it goes into it. Yeah. So I'm thinking maybe the DVLA has to come and explain to us or to the public, because we all will come to you for renewal, and if we come up there and you spring up this, certainly it's not the best. I think that we should start looking at it. Know that before the implementation of the new fees for the driving license, the minority again in Parliament, and the same Kwame Agboja, who is the spokesperson, had raised some questions about it, that the price was way too much. I don't know who is monitoring the DVLA, but if it continues in this particular direction, people may be tempted not to go to the DVLA too. Yeah. And as we've been told, people will try and commit the police to, as it were, let them drive without licenses. I think that is not so good for us, because already we've had issues of people driving with licenses, and you are not able to tell whether they went through the process to acquire the license or whether or not they were qualified indeed to have their license. The kind of driving that happens around town is not encouraging at all. Then we want to add this one to it. Yes, it is good to have a first aid box, but not at this neck-breaking cost. Certainly, it is
not mandatory.
No, come on, please. I think that if and Kwame Agboja's point is that if we think that the toll levy was or is important, and yet we have Parliament has scrapped it so that individuals can pay or bear the responsibility for their own selves. Why a first aid box in any case? I mean, I don't get it. I certainly do not get it. I think that the DVLA must come up and clear the air. So good morning to the Director General of the DVLA, Mr. Buzia. Good morning to you. How far? We want to know what went into the thinking. And 108, perhaps you may want to itemize the bill and let's know what's in there. How far? We want to know. We're interested, because if every driver that comes up to you has to cough 108. And you see, I'm speaking on behalf of the trotro and the taxi drivers. A private person like Amma who earns a 17-figure salary may not is
he on earth or in heaven?
I don't know.
Certainly not here. But even the private person, where right now we are sort of having some nuisance taxes or some nuisance levies of some sort coming up. You don't want to be paying 108. People have got school fees to be paying. I mean, it's not that we don't understand that.
School fees week.
Yes.
It's coming
so
up.
It's not that we don't understand that you need a first aid box in your car for your own safety. We do agree. But the cost, at which they are bringing it up and making it compulsory, mandatory. When you're an adult, you have the right to choose. Even God gives us a free will. So please, you can't be pushing things down our throats, expecting that everyone conforms.
And you know, there are taxi drivers in this country who are running what they call the work and pay.
Exactly.
So they work for some time and then they can own the taxis. Some of these costs, really, it doesn't add up. Growing up, my dad used to have his own first aid box. He had a green box, you know, with a description first aid. Then he had all the things nicely arranged in it. And so the DVLA must have to come clean on this particular issue. It is not good for the image of the DVLA, and to the extent that I can walk to the next pharmacist and or pharmacy and ask to be giving these items in there, really, unless the DVLA has something special in there that we don't know about. But let's know what it is, because if it's the regular thing, then Tally 108 is too much.
Anyway, so also the stories captured there says galamseyers have changed location. I don't know whether this stands true, because I'm sure wherever gold is in the country, wherever people have been able to find gold, there will be some illegal miners there. But the fact that it seems now, because there's a clamp down on the activities in the southern area, they seem to now that, you know, the activities in the upper west region seems to be more pronounced. But then it brings to mind the fact that, did we, in our attempts to clamp down all galamsey activities, consider the fact that they will be everywhere? Or would we wait and fight the southern zones because there are more there, and then when we see a trend rising up in the other regions, we'll move there? I don't know what the exact plan was, but whatever it is, at some point we realize that for people who see this galamsey as their livelihood, they're going to find ways of making ends meet at any point in time. And so again, we come to the point of making alternate forms of, you know, jobs for these people. Because at the end of the day, when we clamp down everyone, I won't be happy to know that I know someone who can't fend for themselves and are trying to do vices, maybe prostitution, they're now armed robbers. We won't be happy when we hear that, because in the end, it comes back to us to pay for all these people. They'll be jailed. When they go to jail, we'll have to feed them, we'll have to find medication for them when they're sick. And so at the end, the taxpayer still bears the brunt of it. So whatever it is, we are for the fact that when we find these galamsey people, as we're clamping down, the alternate, you know, employments, we haven't spoken about that enough. And when you finish, you know, clamping all of them down, then what next?
I think that, you know, that's a very strong point you raised there. The alternative employment that was mentioned. And I remember in the heat of the very first ultimatum that was issued by the Joint Committee, Lands and Natural Resources Minister, Interior Minister and Defense Ministry, we were told about the one district, one factory, which was to come up to help in the alleviation of some of these problems. As we speak, we do not know where the one district, one factory is and whether we have a factory or not. The last time we were talking about Comenda, and then, you know, we don't know what has happened to that one. But then the bigger question is, has this situation always pertained? My answer is yes. Brothers and sisters who come from the north will tell you that there's been some form of galamsey all the time. We've had our brothers and sisters from Burkina Faso join them, and we're told that 4 illegal miners from Burkina Faso themselves have been arraigned before a high court. We hope that the proper justice will be done in this particular case. However, I also think that as the bigger ultimatum draws to a close, Operation Vanguard will still have some detachment that will move out to the north and other places, because as you stated, wherever there's natural resource, you have recalcitrant people. And it's not just gold. There are folks who will want to fall trees or you know, illegal logging of trees and all of that. So the question is, how are we protecting our natural resources? 2, how are we making sure that those who used to do those businesses or those illegalities, perpetuate those illegalities, are properly taken care of? It's very crucial. But then again, you want to know how much we as a nation are spending in these residual measures. So why do we wait for it to happen
before we react?
Exactly. We like the reactionary approach, but we could have started off and dealt with the problem right from start. So critical issues, yes, but we need to look at it again. And interestingly, the multinationals who mine, like the AngloGold, Ashanti, and all of that, they still are mining. It's part of the embargo that's been placed. So the small-scale miners and those who have genuinely acquired licenses to mine have been told to hold on. And I keep saying that, look, if I went to the bank to go and take a facility to come and mine, and 6 months, 8 months, I've been told to hold on. Each month, the bank expects me to make, to service the loan. So where am I going to get the money to service the loan? 2, for as long as I'm unable to service the loan, the bank charges me a penalty or extra charges for not fulfilling my side of the. And now, if I have hired people, they will be out of job. Ghana Revenue Authority will be at my beck and call. If I have an office, if it's the AMA, the KMA, the TDC, whichever it is, they'll be coming for that business operation permit. They don't care that I haven't done any business. And it is very, very important that we start looking at some of these things. I see that it's only the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, John Peterman, who is at the forefront. But I know that there's 3 ministries put together. Why is the Defense Minister not speaking? And why is the Interior Minister not speaking? We must start having a conversation because this borders on security. The last time we checked, we had thousands of people engaged in Galamsey. We have asked all of them to stay off. What jobs are they up to? They have skills. What are they using the skills for? Some of them are macho men and all of that. We don't want to be thinking in the direction that the ordinary person will want to think. But then we need to start redirecting their energies, harnessing them into potentials that we can benefit from as a nation. If not, they become a problem for us. And we do know the percentage of policemen we have coupled with what the citizenry is. So the ratio is a mismatch, and we need to be very, very careful.
Johnny, you know, the last time the small-scale miners were on set, they actually did say even some of them had attempted suicide. And that is the extent to which this fight against Galamsey is going. Because in as much as we realize that we want to stop Galamsey because it's affecting us, all the measures that have been put in place also are affecting those who are legally licensed to be able to do their jobs. And right now, like you said, the banks are at them, GRAs are them, everybody is coming for their pound of flesh. And so as much as possible, let's try and solve this as quickly as we can so that the legal people also who have at least they want the responsibility of trying to also fight against it. But if in the end it cripples them themselves, I don't think that's fair to start.
I think that the Minerals Commission, perhaps the ministry itself, is not being fair to those who have genuinely acquired their licenses. You see, we're talking about stopping Galamsey, which is a good thing. We're told that some of the rivers are now, coming back to life again. But then we must also look at the time frame that we would use to reclaim the lands that were destroyed. In all of this time, or during all of this period, what happens to those who have the paper? And mind you, it's a very cumbersome process to get the certificate to mine. To get the permit to mine. So we should think into this again. The stoppage of Galamsey is good, but I think that we need to start looking at it again. If I've gone through the process, genuinely paid all the fees, spoken to all the authorities, and I have my document, you can't stop me. If not, people will go to court. And when people go to court, there's a danger. Last year, 9 inspectors were sent off. We don't know. We have not told if they have been replaced or not because they were not performing their functions, so we were told. But have they been replaced? It's a brand new year. What happens? So after the ultimatum and after Operation Vanguard is ended, what happens? Will we have our inspectors up and doing, or will we come back a year after to say we are starting Operation Cowleg, Operation Moonek?
We certainly won't get there, but it's time for us to run. And we're talking about the special prosecutor. Of course, the bill has been passed, or the president has assented for that bill to go through. And certainly we hope that the special prosecutor will be able to clamp down on some corrupt activities. But I feel until the individuals, the citizenry, push for corrupt practices to, end, this special prosecutor will still not have, he'll work, but in the end, it's still the same.
The BC General Secretary of the NDC, Kokwanyido, has mentioned that they may not follow what he calls corrupt Mahama officials to the court. So we hope, let's see how it rolls out. George is out there with the folks ranting.
But my hope and expectation is that the establishment of this office is going to be an important step in our collective determination to root out corruption.
Ghana is estimated to lose $4 billion to corruption annually in a bid to fight this canker. The president has given an assent to 5 bills which was passed by Parliament in 2017. Amongst the bills is a special prosecutor's bill. And so will this whole bill, let's say the office, when set, will it fight in entirety corruption in Ghana? This is Daily Rant. Let's keep talking. What do you make of the special prosecutor bill?
I think it is something that will help the country very well if we manage it very well and not use it as a witch hunt. If we are going to use that office to serve a national purpose, I think it's a very good office that has been established.
If only they can manage it well, to me, I'm with it. I'm with it. And if you know that you are not corrupt, why will you be afraid of such an office to be established? So to me, I think it's a good idea if only it can be managed well.
There is nothing special, there is nothing like independency when it comes to the special prosecutor. So I see it to be it's just a waste of our public purse. The government just wants to use this avenue to impact the current status of our financial status in this country. There is nothing so special about the special prosecutor's bill.
Do you want to know how much Ghana loses to corruption? If you do, I'm sure you'd appreciate the creation of this office.
See, apparently, no rational citizen of this country is supposed to fight against establishing anything that is supposed to fight corruption. Corruption in its status right now, everybody is against it. Yeah. The former president will say corruption is a canker, it's a disease to this country. Nobody wants corruption to prevail in this country. What we are saying is that the way that we used to fight corruption is not apparently what this government is doing. And so we are supposed to do everything to resist that attempt for government to...
What do you want the president to wear armor, hold a shield? I don't know. I want to get to, because what do you want to see? You want him to hold a spear to fight corruption? Maybe armor kind or that. I'm just saying.
Yeah, we are saying when it comes to this country, corruption, anytime, let's see if you compare what the past governments have done when it comes to fighting against corruption. It's just about empowering the existing institutions that we have in this country. We have the EOCO, we have the BNI, we have the Attorney General's departments. Looking at the Attorney General department, the Constitution has given a mandate to a sole Attorney General to what you could prosecute every single criminal offenses in this country. The Attorney General department can designate even their prosecutorial right to some of the any cities that they deemed fit. And so looking at it, we have the Article 88 of the Ghanaian Constitution. It's solely said about the Attorney General Department. So when we are establishing something, we need to make sure that it's independent of the Attorney General. But right now, when you go to even the preamble of the Special Prosecutor's Bill, it talks about under the authority of the Attorney General. So I don't see anything independent about it. It is still under the office of the Attorney General. So what is so special about the Special Prosecutor?
I think he's politicizing this. Can we take off the political lens and let's just talk to the issue? He's been political about this.
I think it's very unnecessary why he's politicizing this, because from where I see it with the kind of lens I'm looking at this, I think it should be a national issue. It should get a bipartisan approach. You are talking about the Attorney General. Even the Attorney General is being appointed by the President. So if you are politicizing this and then you are setting precedent with the Attorney General's office, with the rot they uncovered under at the NSS under the previous administration, you can also call it a witch hunt, because the former president appointed those the Attorney General. If you are saying the Attorney General is supposed to do the work of this special prosecutor, it can still be what you are still afraid of. So it's not about empowerment. We have the Attorney General since the Constitution was formed in 1992. But how many public officers have been prosecuted under the Attorney General? We've seen very few. So let's wait and see what this special prosecutor bill will do.
We saw the allegation from the A+. we saw the allegation against the deputy chief of staff, the 2 deputy chief of staff. But what did the government do? Just recently, we saw the ex-parte issue, and the president, I think, is he a president or is he a clearing agent? He was the one who was clearing those people. He cleared the Minister of Trade. So what shows that this special persecution or whatever can work?
Okay, look at this. Over the weekend, we got the former president, John Dramani Mahama, saying that, former government officials are not scared of the office. I don't know why. Should we come to this conclusion? Why should you be scared? If you know you've not done anything, why should you be scared about the office?
It's not really about scaring. What we are saying is that we do not want us to hold a position. We do not want any impression to be created as if there is going to be a witch hunt. But definitely when you see a whole president coming out to tell you we are forming a special prosecutor, and with the moment I appoint the president, we shouldn't allow nobody should come to him to tell him it's a political witch hunt, meaning he has created a side. It's an impression he wants to create that yes, indeed, this thing is coming definitely for this kind of people. It's a political witch hunt. But what we are saying, that's the reason.
If a former official is found,
that's the reason,
being corrupt and all that, and the person is, let's say, prosecuted.
There is no problem when you come to prosecute individuals. Yeah. When somebody is being found to be corrupt, there is no problem with it. Yeah. But we do not want you to create an impression as if you are seriously coming for a specific person. Exactly, that is the point we are trying to establish.
Everybody would love to see, let's say, a neutral person man in the office. And of course, that's what we envisage. And so, do you see that happening?
I think I see that happening because the president cannot just appoint someone and then the next day we will see the person in the office. The person definitely has to be vetted, and the person has to have a kind of background to see the cases, the number of cases and the wins, and I mean the neutrality of the person. We have to see the neutrality of the person. And he was mentioning a case about witch hunt. Fine. In order, I'm a little bit inclined to go his way. In order not for this to be seen as a witch hunt, I think the president has to start from his own home. This administration, there are a lot of people that have been implicated, like some people taking 10,000, 100,000 just to get some people into the circle of the president. I think if these people are the ones being the first to be prosecuted under the office, yes, to set an example, so that when he moves out, to go to the next person, it wouldn't be seen as a witch hunt.
So you mean that the president should make a U-turn?
He cleared them. Okay. So
you mean there should be a U-turn again? It's impossible. It's not possible. Like if you mean
serious
it,
nation.
No,
I believe in this. Every serious nation.
You should not thought there. You should say, look, wait for the special prosecutor should handle that issue.
But
I believe just went ahead and then clear them. Will you come back and tell us that? No, it's impossible.
I believe cases are revisited. I believe cases are revisited, right? I believe cases are revisited.
Yeah, they are.
When the judgment is being passed.
Somebody can appeal on the
and then yes, we as Ghanaians can also appeal for the case to be brought back to the prosecutor's office and then it will be prosecuted.
Okay. But right? At least we all want the canker corruption, fought. And so this is a step in the right direction.
This is a step in the wrong direction.
This
is a step in the wrong direction. We are supposed to empower the establishing. So what is the essence of we establishing EOCO? This is the argument. What is the point of what do you call of this country establishing EOCO? What is the point of us even establishing BNI? If we are supposed to bring in another special,
if I may get you right,
that's the argument.
If I understand what he's saying well, my brother, calm down. If I understand what you are saying right, you are trying to tell me the establishment of the special prosecutor's office is unconstitutional.
It's unconstitutional.
But I think in the constitution there's a provision for special prosecutor.
Exactly.
So why is he trying to state out a fact? Why is he trying to make it like a fact that it's unconstitutional?
The secretary of NDC, what's the name? Jose Sidinkete, says he has lauded the creation of the office and he says it's a necessary evil. We need it there to prosecute people, to fight corruption.
I learned we are not being partisan about who, but I'm not accepting the views of some individual. This is my personal view. Yes. There is no way the special prosecutor's office is going to solve corruption in its entirety, because looking at it, there is no way it can solve any problem. As I have already said, it's the same as the EOCO. So if the president or if the government is willing to fight corruption as it is, I think there's so many corruption allegations that has been alleged under his tenure of office can be directed to the office of the EOCO. We don't need the president to come out to tell us that these people, allegations has been made and they've been cleared in regards to what happened when the Ministry of Trade was taking almost $10,000 for somebody to sit behind. 10,000 from 10,000 to $100,000 for somebody to 100,000 to even 25,000 to 250,000 to sit behind. The bigger the amount you pay, the closest you will be to the president. And so all these kind of corruption allegations have been made.
If you are sitting Kanda, if you are from Kanda, Kanda is 100,000. Nima Highway is maybe 75,000. And then if you are from Nima, it's 25,000. That's the arrangement.
I think he also paid some of the money. So it's also corrupt. And then the special prosecutor needs to visit him. Yes, the special prosecutor needs to visit him.
So when I find the case, we'll call you.
Yes, because he knows the arrangement very well.
Are you going to see an end to corruption with President's assent to the Special Prosecutors Bill? Let's know your thoughts on this. Log on to our social media platforms. On Facebook is News on TV3 and on Twitter is the News TV3. Our WhatsApp line is 050-823-5228. Just engage us with your comments and we're always ready to read them and share them with the rest of the world.
Welcome back. Let's begin with the Ghanaian Times. It says, scrap Ministry of Special Development Initiatives and Special TV License Court spark public outrage. Cop grabbed for carjacking. 41 perish during Xmas in 236 road accidents across the country. The Daily Graphic says, cop in trouble for attempted robbery. Be wary of oil exploration in Keta Basin, gas experts warns. Maslock retrieves 16 million Ghana cedis from debtors, over 86 million still owed. And Daily Guide this morning says, you're on the right path, Father Campbell tells the president. And bombshell, NDC 1 billion Ghana cedis cash printing cover blown. Man sleeps with 3 daughters and Ghana Water shuts down Teshi plant. The Economy Times says, GSC says 3 firms on delisting watch list. And finally, on the Today newspaper, it says Indum to receive special award at 43rd Swag Awards. And also, Galamsey's change location, move operations to Upper West region. My guest this morning, the MP for Efutu, the Honorable Alexander Afenyo-Markin, who is also a legal luminary. Honorable, welcome.
Hey.
Good morning.
Good morning. You want me to live long?
Say again.
You want me to live long?
Well, you don't want to live long.
Do you want me to live long?
Yes.
Very well.
Okay.
Then be careful with how you describe it.
Why? You have enemies around?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
We are politicians.
Okay. And politicians don't like titles.
Exactly so.
So should I take off the honorable too?
You can describe me however you would want to.
Happy New Year to you.
But in a very modest
I hear you.
manner, I beg you.
Happy New Year to you.
Many happy returns. And it's great to see you.
I see you.
And having a conversation like this.
Absolutely.
And, happy New Year to my brother.
And the Honorable Al Hassan Suini is the MP for Tamale North. Honorable, Happy New Year to you.
Many happy returns.
How did the Christmas go for you?
Alhamdulillah, it was good. But I'm just...
You're interested in what he said?
I am marveled by my brother's, show of fear, as you rightly refer to him as a legal luminary. I mean, he has a number of cases in his name, and maybe yes, he's a modest man. I know he's my brother. He tries to be very humble and all that, but he should just accept it when it is given without asking. In this case, you didn't ask for it.
Yes, he didn't ask for it.
He didn't ask for it. So.
Honorable, do you have New Year resolutions yet? You want to share 1 or 2?
Well, for those of us in politics from Central Region, whether NDC or MPP, my wish is for our chiefs and opinion leaders to rally around our vision for the region. Looking at the way the region is, how chiefs in other regions contribute, shape opinion, influence decision making. I don't see that happening in Central Region.
Okay.
My wish is that our chiefs, opinion leaders, and I say opinion leaders including pastors or imams, leading personalities, be it in academia or other social platforms, to be seen to be adding their voice to the Central Region agenda. I didn't see it in the Tamils era. I didn't see it in the Rawlings era. I didn't see it in the Kufuor era. And it appears it's not even happening now. So politicians in Central Region are left on their own. See how, if you go to the north, all right, you see the chiefs making a case for their people, how they shape opinion, how to influence leadership. Eastern Region, Ashanti, Volta, you don't really see that. So my wish is that our chiefs come together in Central Region. They shouldn't see themselves as Gomoa chief, Efutu chief, Ejumaku chief, Oguamahin, Dinahin, and all that. Region. Of course, political civilization began in Central Region, and we need to be seen to be adding our voice. So that is my wish.
That's your wish
for the chiefs. Now, the second one, you asked for two.
Okay. Briefly.
Yes, briefly. Politicians can be brief. The tribalism in Ghana is not going away. It appears that we continue to see ourselves as Gonja man, Efutu man, Mampushi, Dagomba, Eve, etc., etc. To the extent that people would want to even play victim card and run for cover using tribal bigotry. We are one nation. We have the Ghanaian agenda, and we should rather be seeking development of our various regions within the broader Ghanaian agenda. Ghana first, and if we do that, we could bring down development to our various regions and localities.
Thank you.
I'm sure that is what we need, and that is the call on all of us, so that President Akufo-Addo would be able to deliver, relying on the Ghanaian dream.
I hear you. Alaji, New Year resolution for you as well.
Well, I noticed the irony when you asked my brother to be brief. He's a lawyer, he's a lecturer, and he's a politician. How can that combination
and you are a broadcaster, so you talk to get paid.
I'll try. Well, I in broadcasting, especially because you have to use time, know how to summarize.
Exactly.
So I'll try. I think my first resolution remains the same as it was when I decided to switch from broadcasting to politics and to represent the people of Tamale North. So my first resolution is to continue to explore ways and means to continue to serve the people of Tamale North to the best of my ability. I want to be part of every solution to any problem in any community in Tamale North, Nyanshagu, Kalpohene, Wovoguma, Satangle, or you name them. I want to be part of every solution. I know that I don't have all the solutions, but if for nothing at all, I will want to be part of any solution to a problem affecting the people of Tamale North. That is my resolution, and I'm committed to that. May God help me, do the very best to continue to put smiles on the faces of people, to give them hope, and to inspire others. The second will be to continue to expose the issues that I believe with time will make majority of Ghanaians who may have decided in the last elections against the MPP to understand that they made a mistake. To understand that they made a mistake. Because you see, I believe that this country was on track, and I will continue to work for my party. I'll continue to do the broader things of helping this government to implement the projects that I believe will go a long way to change lives and influence people positively. But I will also continue to do my bit to ensure that people understand that the best governance for this country has always been provided by my party.
Well, thank you very much. So you can also join us.
It's always good to let's go to the last bite.
Page 3 of the Daily Guide says Ghana Water shuts down tertiary plants. Honorable, let's go to Ghana Water issues. So we woke up on New Year's Day to hear that the plant has been shut down. Already has had its own set of problems. The affected areas include Nungwa, Sakumon, and Lashibi, Community 16, 17, 18, Adogono, Bachona, Coastal Estates, Greater Estates, Regimental Estates, all along the Spinkters Road and the surrounding areas. This project launched in 2015 brought a lot of relief to the people around there. You're the board chairman for Ghana Water Company. What is the problem? I understand that there's some renegotiation that has to go on and all of that.
Well, I think per the statement issued, certain things have been put in place to ensure that potable water is supplied regularly. Obviously, shutting down the plant would inconvenience people, and the company deeply regrets that. I would want to leave it there without more. But to deal with a very important issue that my honorable friend Suhini has introduced, which is good for our debate this morning. The governance of this country, as we know, can best be described by the evidence of projects and initiatives. He says that one of his resolutions is to let Ghanaians know that they made a mistake in 2016. I strongly disagree, and I do so on the basis of facts. You see, we had 8 years of Kufuor and another 8 years of NDC.
But you're going outside.
Oh, I'm not going outside. I'm not. I've responded to the water issue, and I said that he's brought an important issue.
We'll come to
that.
No,
I will deal with that. John, please, with respect. I will lose my thoughts. I beg you. We had the Kufuor Nose Mahama. And what did we see in the last 8 years? I want to challenge him to point to a single social intervention program that was implemented successfully.
Well, the tertiary desalination plant.
Yes, I would
was brought up in 2015.
I will interlock it. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, sure. I'm saying that he should point out to me a single social intervention program introduced and implemented successfully. He wouldn't be able to. I would tell him what they did. For instance, the NDC government boldly and ambitiously borrowed at a compound interest to implement SADA. You and I know that at the end of the 3rd year, when that instrument expired, government of Ghana coughed 299 million. Interest alone was 99 million. Yet, they themselves came out with a report that the SADA program had failed. This was the NDC that he says he wants Ghanaians to repent from voting for NPP to come. Again, our taxpayers' money. NDC was going to borrow from the Chinese, the CDB facility I'm referring to. In this facility, there were penal charges that if you don't draw down on a certain date, you have to pay some monies. Within 3 years, NDC had paid over $300 million to the Chinese financiers for penalties alone.
But I don't know,
and it had to take 3 years for them to come and seek a capping.
How does all of this respond to Ghana Water Company shutting down the tertiary desalination?
I have said again, and if I have to repeat it, I've responded to the shutting down.
No, I'm not satisfied with the answer to the extent that I mentioned affected areas, and I'm saying that Honorable Samson Ahif, former water deputy minister, it says that it's the Ghana Water Company is to blame for the poor nature in which the facility was managed, leading to the shutting down. I'm saying you're board chairman of the Ghana Water Company. What is the issue, and is it true that there's renegotiation coming up for which the plant may be running again?
Right. Before I respond to Ahi, my good friend and honorable colleague, I would conclude on...
we don't have a lot of time.
Very well, I just want to conclude that Nanado's government deserves an opportunity to roll out its plans. It has been bold in respect of the free SHS, the nursing training allowance thing, the digital addressing system, putting in place the legal framework for a takeoff, particularly the Northern Development Authority program, the Middle Belt, the Coastal. All these are structures that need to be put in place for a takeoff. I do not think that any Ghanaian ever regrets voting for the Akufo-Addo
point well made.
And for Akufo-Addo and NPP. Okay. Now back to Ahi. You see, if a colleague wants to do party politics, petty partisan politics, and you respect him so much, it's difficult for you to publicly respond. But I would say that Honorable Ahi may have to check his facts. The desalination plant is not managed by Ghana Water Company.
But he says that the Ghana Water Company is obliged to pay the electricity bills of the plant.
No, it is not that aspect. He said, read the conclusion. I've read it, and I have a lot of respect for it.
It says, meanwhile, former Deputy Minister of Water Resources, Works and Housing in the Mahama-led administration, Sam Zahi, has indicated that Ghana Water Company Limited should be blamed for the poor state of the Teshi water processing plant.
What I'm saying is that if he were to be here, I would have put him to strict proof. Reason is that what he has stated is factually inaccurate. Ghana Water Company Limited does not operate the desalination plant.
Okay.
It does not. So he cannot say that Ghana Water Company should be blamed. You get my point? I'm not sure whether he's misquoted, but he should know, having occupied that office responsible for supervising that company, he should know that Ghana Water does not operate the desalination plant.
So now the plant is shut down. Are we to see it coming back on stream?
The statement has explained, and I've re-echoed the position taken by the statement without more, that there is the need to do some works. In doing such, it would inconvenience people, those affected areas. But every effort is being made to resolve and ensure that water or potable water is supplied uninterruptedly.
Do we have timelines for this?
Well, as soon as practicable. The statement so indicates.
But that could be 6 months.
It won't take 6 months. I'm not sure.
3 months?
I'm not sure it will take that long.
A month?
Well, don't commit me to a time. But I'm saying that steps are being taken to deal with the matter. In the shortest possible time, this will be resolved. Meanwhile, like the statement indicated, arrangements have been put in place to ensure that water is supplied. Of course, it wouldn't be daily, but those days as indicated, there will be water. But as soon as practicable, the issues outstanding will be dealt with, and those affected areas would have uninterrupted supply.
I'm grateful.
Of water.
Alaji, so this was a project set up by your government in 2015. The people were excited about it. 2 years down the line, maybe 3, this is the state is being shut down, and these are the affected areas. What are your comments about this?
Well, first of all, I think that it is disappointing. I know the relief that the plant gave to people in that area, Teshi, Nungwa, and some of the estates that are around the area. I know that many of them did not use it for drinking purposes, but they use it for other household chores. And you know what it's like. And you can imagine what they may be going through today as a result of the shutdown. And I also know how much people who do not have water, and even before this plant was introduced, how much people in that area used to spend on water monthly. It's a very, very big chunk of a family's budget. That is water, buying water when you don't have it flowing through your taps. And so this was a very big relief to the people of that area. And it wasn't the only project that the previous administration embarked on to provide potable water, to residents across the country. You recall the Kumawu Water project. You also recall even the one that is just near us here in Accra. I'm talking about the one that ensured that the people of Medina and others all got water. The Wa Water project, which was almost snatched by this administration after the president went to the Upper West region and claimed ownership of that project. So it tells you that the previous government had this long-term thinking of ensuring that water was made available across the country and, to ease the burden of people. So I find it disappointing.
But to be fair, Alhaji, the problem didn't start yesterday.
I know.
It may have culminated right from start.
I know. You see, if you read the story, it talks about the funding arrangement and how it is a burden on Ghana Water Company. But you rightly put it when my brother challenged that I should mention one social intervention policy that was introduced and completed. It is not everything that government does that it seeks to get monetary profit from. And so it is not as if the government of the day at the time did not know that running this project was going to result in some, financial burden on the state. But the government thought that the relief that people who were going to enjoy from this plant was much more important than the money that the state will have to cough up to pay electricity bills and also to, if you like, subsidize the cost of that water, because the water was produced or is produced at a higher cost than it is sold to the residents. And you will know that that enclave is made up of people who are in the low income brackets. You're talking about Teshi and those areas. They are in the low income brackets. And the intention was to provide them with water. At what cost was not that important to the government, because water will result in if the people have water.
So what went wrong in the management which has brought us to this point?
It will increase productivity. When people have water, they can go to work early, and then they will produce better. And all of that.
But what happened in the management?
I will not know because the problem, the shutdown didn't happen in our time. Right. So whatever the problems were at our time, if it was not shut down, it is probably because it was managed better. So I am disappointed that we haven't been able to
Is that a fair conclusion? To the extent that money is
just to assist. I mean, when we are arguing, my view is that we situate it within a proper context. Right. The desalination plant is managed and operated by Belfisa.
Right.
So when we are talking about mismanagement, especially when my brother says that not in their time, I have assumed board chairmanship at Ghana Water. There is a managing director who himself is an engineer, Dr. Clifford Brymer, who is not in charge of the management of that plant. So when the argument is being made, it has to be situated properly.
We are saying the same
it's not that Ghana Water has mismanaged.
You are singing the same song.
No. Hughes, you see, that
is not the point he's making.
What I said was that, you see, the point, you asked if I will be able to tell why there is a shutdown.
And you say you can't.
And I'm saying I can't, because, you see, in my estimation and from my layman point of view, if it wasn't shut down in the past, I am right to assume that perhaps it was managed well. I'm not saying it was managed by Ghana Water well, but perhaps it was managed well. But if there's a shutdown today, it is only the stakeholders who can tell where the problem is, whether it is a management problem or it's a financial problem.
Okay.
And you know that Ghana Water Company has some responsibility towards
the
management of the plant.
It says the Ghana Water Company claims that it is incurring hefty losses in operating the plant, while the private firm contracted to operate it is raking in more profit.
Fantastic.
The situation has forced the Public Utilities Workers Union of the Trades Union Congress to call on the government to revise the contract signed with the private firm Messrs. Befisa, which requires the Ghana Water Company to pay the capacity charges of $1.4 million per month to the firm. This charge is payable whether the plant is workable or not.
So that's the point I'm making. If it is, I don't know if it's a management problem, but I'm saying that perhaps it was managed in the past better. That is why the problem...
Or the negotiation was not done properly. Because if you're paying $1.4 million...
You see, when you interrupt like that, it doesn't make sense.
Hold on, I'm asking questions. I'm saying that it could be a managerial issue, or it could be that the negotiation, 1.4, whether it works or it doesn't work. Don't you think that it was quite... not on the right side?
Well, you see, sometimes when we listen to respond, that's what happens. What I said initially was that there was a negotiation, and the negotiation was to ensure that the people of the area had water.
Okay.
The people in that area are in the low income brackets. And I said the government at the time may have considered more important the need to provide water and not just the cost.
Right.
I said that already.
Right.
So I am not saying that the cost may have been prohibitive or the cost may have been the reason why we are where we are today. But I'm saying the government of the day at the time was committed to ensuring that whatever the cost, what was important was for people to have water, so that they, in the long run, can also contribute to productivity some way, somehow.
Okay.
But you see, I want to take up the challenge that my brother made before we move on. The fact that he argues that the initiation and completion of a social intervention is what makes a government a better government, makes me conclude that, I mean, or hold the view that I've always, I will state the view that I've always held, that, you see, the NDC, I think, does more governance than politics. And our friends on the other side, they do the politics more. And I'll give you an example. I'll give you an example. I'll give you two examples. I'll give you two examples.
Because it will spark a response.
But he threw a challenge. If I don't respond to it, it will be a problem.
But you responded to some, naming the Kumawu projects and everything.
No. I was talking about water.
Okay.
Just the contribution of water. Yes, but I was talking about the contribution of water. Now, let me tell you, let me just give you maybe 2 or 3 examples. Quickly. You look at the introduction of 4-year senior high school. You recall how it was done? Politically. There was a team of experts put together. The experts never recommended 4 years, but it was a political decision to make it 4 years. Now, after the 4 years was done, there was no plan to contain the 4 years. No plan at all. But it was announced and it was done. So it took the NDC government to put up emergency infrastructure. You recall when Professor Mills was president, some secondary schools had to even put up tents to contain the 4th-year students. That, they will tell you, they introduced 4 years. But, and it is on record they did. But to what end? Now talk about national health insurance. When national health insurance was introduced, it was a mutual health scheme. So if you registered in Accra and you fell sick in Ho, you would not be attended to. But they introduced national health. Should the NDC have come to say that, look, but remember again that the NDC piloted national health first. But you see, they introduced it as a mutual health scheme. Okay. The NDC came and made it truly national.
Your point is well made. Thank you very much.
And made it truly national. Because you see, we don't just do politics. We do governance that actually mean well to the people.
Your point is well made. Thank you very much.
I could have given you more examples.
It's all right.
Once you want us to go on.
050-823-5228 is the WhatsApp line. Join us and be part of the conversation. Yes, Alex.
Johnny, my joy this morning.
Yeah.
And that's a New Year present he's freely offered me. I asked a question, and I've asked this question for the umpteenth time. NDC should point out to me a single social intervention program. Each time I had posed this question, their members had failed in pointing to one. I'm not surprised. this morning, he could not point to a social intervention program they implemented successfully or introduced and implemented safe. He's not been able to. So it's okay. Let's move on.
Page 18, Daily Ghanaian Times says, special TV license courts spark public outrage. The court is supposed to start operation from today. 11 of those sets across the nation by the Chief Justice upon a request by the Director General of the Ghana Broadcasting Corporation, Dr. Akufu, are not in tow. Both of you are in Parliament. There's a question about the law being obsolete and whether it is still relevant in this day and whether the courts are necessary or not. We've had so much commentary out there. The Consumer Protection Agency says, no, it is not. Don't put a court to it. Gabi Asare Chodako says, well, don't put a legal, punch to it and all of that. But both of you are in Parliament. This is a matter of law. Whether there's public uproar or not, people will still have to pay if the law still exists. I'll start with you, Alex. Of course, you're a lawyer as well. What have you made of the whole discussion and the debate and the sparking up of the public outrage about the whole TV license thing?
Well, is there a law that makes it mandatory for us to pay a TV license? That's the first question.
You tell me. You're the lawyer.
Well, I'm asking because if there's no law, there wouldn't be the need to pay. And if there is no law, there wouldn't be a court to dispense justice or enforce it or penalize, as it were. Okay? Now, the other argument is it's obsolete. So, how does it become obsolete? If a law is in our books, it remains in our books until same is repealed. If you think that it is not relevant, I think that the debate must go a step further, come to Parliament and repeal. I mean, I can't join the social call. I can only make a legal submission on this. Do we have the law? Yes, we do. Is there a requirement for us to pay? Have we had changing times? Yes. So, does GBC have monopoly? No. Should we pay TV license to them as we think? Maybe yes, maybe no. But does a law provides that we should pay TV license? Yes. Who should receive that money? GBC. It's a simple matter.
So then the argument comes up that, well, the laws are made for the people, and the people are not excited about this very law. Does it have to stay?
Oh, Johnny, you see, a passage in the Bible says that a time will come that people would acknowledge the existence of God, but they would deny the power of God thereof. Okay? Why would you want to acknowledge the existence of the law, but the power of the law on you, you say no? Then repeal it.
But
it's a simple matter.
It behoves on Parliament. So would you go for a repeal of the law?
I can't express a personal opinion on
behalf of the people of Efutu.
No, don't.
No, I'm not. I'm asking.
Don't
the people
me.
of Efutu will pay
don't
TV
box
license
me.
fees.
If Ghanaians do not want to pay TV license, they have a way to do it. Get the government to repeal. Simple. Is there a call like that? In any event, what are the justifications? If GBC says that, look, it needs these resources, money, to continue to operate, because it's a public broadcaster, and the intention at the time was to use this TV license, the revenues thereof, to sustain the operations of GBC.
GBC does commercial business now.
As I agree. So, all of these must be looked at in perspective. GBC has always been engaged in commercial activities, but not as commercial as will be done at TV3 in terms of costs. If we think that we don't need to pay TV license, the law must be repealed.
And I'm asking,
simplicity,
on behalf of the people of Efutu, will you stick your neck out in
I've not
Parliament
sought their views yet.
to say that
I've not sought the views of the
they have not
people
complained to you yet?
I'm saying I've not sought their views.
Have they complained to you yet?
Not yet. Not a single text message has come on my phone saying that we can't pay TV license. I am willing to pay my TV license because the law says I should pay.
But have you paid?
I'm saying I'm willing to pay my TV license.
The court says today, what if they come for
I
you?
am willing to pay my TV license because the law says so.
Alaji, let me come to you now. TV license and the matters arising from it. You're a broadcaster and so and a parliamentarian as well. What do you make of the entire conversation ongoing? And perhaps you've listened to the legal side of it. What do you say to this?
Hughes, do you remember the school uniform project?
I do.
The free school uniform project. I don't know if it was a social intervention or not, but I could go on, but that's not
don't
what
go
we're
there,
talking
please.
about.
Let's
So
talk TV license.
Let's
Thank
move
you.
on.
Thank you very much.
Is it still in place? The
No.
school uniform?
No,
you see, I situated it carefully.
Alex, thank you.
Which you have implemented
Alex,
successfully.
Alex, thank you.
Do we still have an ongoing school uniform?
Alex,
I've
thank you.
not said anything.
Are we in
Alex,
charge?
thank you. Please.
Are we in charge? How can we continue school uniform project in open?
Alex, please talk about
Did you
TV
do it in
license.
2016?
Oh, Alex, please.
No, don't say Alex. Did you do it in 2016?
Yes, we did. You tagged them as campaign uniforms that were given.
School uniform, free uniform.
But anyway,
that
let's move on to what do you call it?
TV
TV
license
issue. I legally, I have no problem at all with what my brother has said. I think that it is the right position to take in law. The fact that the law is still in our statutory books. It doesn't matter how long it's been in our statutory books. At any point in time, if it is deemed applicable and it is applied, it will be an unfair argument to make, on the basis that it is an archaic law. But socially, I think that it is a fair point to make because society is dynamic and we have changed so much over the years. For example, if the law says TV license and I watch TV on my phone, how am I required to pay TV?
The DG of Ghana Broadcasting Corporation hopes that it will stretch to that point.
So it doesn't now. So it then tells you that the law is not in tune with trends. And perhaps that is why even if we want to apply it, we need to fine-tune it. Again, at the time that the law was introduced, GTV was the only, if you like, broadcaster.
Right.
Today they are not. And there is serious competition. So if I'm paying TV license, it doesn't have to be limited to one TV station. Because for all you know, I don't even watch that TV station. So there will be no incentive for me to pay.
In fact,
but if it is made, I know the law talks about the fact that you need to pay if you own a television set. It doesn't matter the station you watch, but if you own a television set.
In fact, this will be the distribution of whatever is collected. 72% will go to the Ghana Broadcasting Corporation. The Ghana Independent Broadcasters Association, GIBA, of which TV3 is a member, will get 15% for all of us. 4% will go to the National Media Commission. Another 4% will go to the Media Development Fund. 3% will go to the management of the TV license fee themselves. And 2% will go to the Film Fund. So that will be the distribution. But GTV or GBC gets 72%.
Who decided this distribution?
Well, I have no idea, but this is what we're told. The last time, I think in 2015 when this was sparked, this was the consensus reached.
So the point is still, the point I made is still relevant. The fact that GTV collects it on behalf, in this case, if you are going by this formula, you can say on behalf of other
Would you rather the GRA collects it?
I think that will make sense. If it is going to be a revenue for the state meant to develop broadcasting in general, then the state should be the recipient through GRA.
Okay.
And then maybe allocations will be made through the budgetary presentations that we see. And we will know how much is collected, and then we will know what it is used for after allocations are made. But I think that people are right to complain because the law in its current form does not
makes sense if you apply it to existing circumstances. And that is why I agree with those who think that we need to fine-tune the law. I'm not saying that it is unacceptable to demand that we pay to watch content on TV, because you see, many of us who are complaining about this actually subscribe to DSTV.
Okay.
You know, and we pay monthly. I know many people who are complaining and are very unhappy with this whole idea of paying
perhaps
TV license.
They are not satisfied about the content, because the law says for owning the TV set you have to pay.
Right.
But the Director General, when he spoke with CTFM,
So
says
how
that
many?
it is for content. So
how many of us? How many of us, you know, who subscribe to DSTV and pay the amount that we pay monthly, actually pay for the TV? I mean, we don't pay TV license. Right. But the law says for just owning the TV, that will even ensure that you watch DSTV. You need to pay something.
Right.
That's why I'm saying that maybe it will make sense if GRA collects it. Perhaps they can even do it such that they collect it at the point of entry. Right. When it is being imported or when it's being manufactured.
For example, in the UK, if you go and buy a TV set, where you buy the TV set from, they have an obligation to send your details to the office. It is not like that in our case.
You see,
so you are served a bill in the UK to pay.
What can even happen is that when I go to buy my TV set, there should be a way for me to pay TV license there.
Okay.
And maybe another system that will ensure a renewal through the subscriptions that you pay to watch certain channels. You will pay a monthly renewal fee for owning, without even feeling it, without even knowing that is what you are paying. So it becomes an inbuilt price to the amount you pay for example, for subscription.
Okay.
You know, so I think that it is a burden on people, but if it is understood very well, I'm sure that it is one that people can.
Let me put the same question I put to Alex to you. On behalf of the people of North, Tamale North, would you go to Parliament and say, well, this law has a few loose ends, can we tighten them? Would you go to Parliament to?
If it's if you have listened to what I've been saying, if it comes up in Parliament, definitely my position
would you raise it in Parliament? On behalf of the people of Tamale.
I am still listening to the concerns. I'm still listening to the concerns, and I think it is the opposition is widespread. And so when Parliament resumes, and I think that there's a need to raise it, I will raise it, not just on behalf of the people of Tamale North, but on behalf of the majority of Ghanaians who are uncomfortable with it. I don't think that the discomfort comes from how much they have to pay or the threat of being prosecuted. It has to do more with the understanding of it and the reason why one should pay that amount to GBC.
Very much. We'll read some comments. When we come back from that reading of comments, we'll talk about Parliament. They're going back to Parliament. We want to know whether the alleged $100,000 claimed from expats is a matter that we need to look at as well. But these are your comments here on WhatsApp 05082352228. Well, we're still booting there. Let's try and get it fixed and then we can come to it. Okay, so Parliament is reconvening tomorrow. Honourable, the whole issue about this collection of money from expats to sit closer to the president is come up. What do you hope for tomorrow?
Well, it's our right as parliamentarians to use the processes and the procedures in Parliament to air our views. You could do so through question time. You could invite the minister to make a statement. You could do so through a motion. So if the minority is of the view that there's a need for Parliament to be recalled, and accordingly the Chief Whip on their side has filed a motion, well, it is for the politics of it, the way I see it. I don't see there is anything of genuine substance. Basically, the minority would want to create some political mischief.
You think it's mischief?
It's a needless recall.
You think it's mischief?
Oh, that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. It's a needless recall because we are to resume somewhere the 3rd week of January, 27th or so. And this could have been done through an urgent question. This is not the first time that Alain Chemante has been invited to the floor through an urgent question. I remember there was an issue with one of the textile companies. An urgent question was filed, and it was on the floor to explain what the situation was at the time. So if the minority still want some explanation, an urgent question could be filed. Upon resumption, same would be considered. And you see, sometime when urgent questions are filed, further questions are asked, supplementary questions are asked on the basis of relevance. Or even when statements are made, there are contributions. You comment on these statements, right, and the speaker can direct that on the basis of the comments or the contributions, a direction is given for A, B, C, D, and all that to be followed. Now, with this motion, you see, the difficulty is that you are moving a motion for Parliament to constitute a committee. If the motion is rejected, you lose it. You can come back on the same matter. You've lost it. So if you really want to have the effect that you think that there's a genuine concern to be expressed, your option wouldn't be to go through this motion. Really. But if you want to create a political mischief, get the media attention, and you want because you have internal problems, and you also want to still feel that you are in a comfortable lead, you want to create the impression that, yes, you've been tagged with corruption, so you want to create the impression that, oh, this government with a focus and committed to the well-being of Ghanaians and with a genuine desire to put in place support systems in place is also failing. So you want to score political points, you want to go this route. I can't take it away from you. But obviously you can see, because Muntaka, the minority chief whip, he's an experienced member of parliament. He is somebody who would always direct you on proceedings. He's on a number of occasions where I had raised issues by seeking Mr. Speaker's guidance. Had come out, he said, oh, Mr. Speaker, our honorable colleague knows how to do it better. He could file an urgent question, he could make a statement, or he could invite the minister to make a statement on the floor. So for him to file a motion, which he knows that, well, under normal circumstances, you don't even have the numbers. A motion is to be moved, seconded, we debate, and we adopt a resolution to that effect. He knows that it will fail. He knows. But he's not interested in substance. He's interested in its mischievous form to achieve a certain political effect. But you see, fact will remain fact. Fact will remain fact. So let's see how it plays out tomorrow.
Alaji, is the minority playing mischief, political mischief, as Alex posted?
I think it's sad that the president jokes with what happened. I listened to him.
Why do you say the president jokes with what happened?
I listened to him in a news report where he was making a joke out of the fact that people are charged to sit close to him. I think that it is very...
I think that it was, he said that at the musical grand ball, I was there, and he says that he hopes nobody was charged to come and have dinner with him. Those were his exact words.
And I think it is sad that he's making jokes out of such a serious matter. I think that he should be very peeved, he should be very unhappy if indeed what we are hearing happened without his consent. Unless, of course, perhaps he knew about it, and so now it is a matter to laugh about, and that is why he will make jokes out of it. I think it is sad. I think it is his attitude to this and many other allegations in the past continue to make a lot of people wonder.
Is that the basis for which the minority is calling for this meeting? Because the presidency cleared the Minister of Trade?
Not really, but I'm developing a point. Right. And you see, so I think that it is sad that the president is approaching some of these allegations against his appointees so lightly. I mean, President Mahama was right when he said in Ho recently that the real test of fighting corruption is not just with prosecuting your opponents, but also dealing with your appointees when they err. And I would have expected that for a president who campaigned on the need to fight corruption and giving assurance of how he was going to fight corruption, he would have begun, showing signs of his determination to weed out corruption that is close to him. And you recall that President Mahama just didn't say it, but he actually expressed it in his governance. No appointee of his that, serious allegations such as these were made against, that went home without at least a slap on the wrist. President Mahama didn't countenance it. I mean, even if he believed they were innocent, he still gave them some level of punishment. You may not disagree. For example, you may not disagree. I mean, you may disagree with the measure of punishment or the method, or you may think that he could have done more.
Something that has been a slap on the a pat on the back, rather, and they've mentioned, or usually would mention, the Honorable Elvis Efriankra, the Honorable Jifativo will be mentioned, and all that.
You see, that's what I'm saying. For example, that if you can call it a slap on the wrist, but that was action. Okay. That was action. Victoria Hammer did nothing wrong by just opening her mouth too loud. She was made to resign. Jifativo, the report came out clearing her. The commission that was set up to investigate Brazil never found anything against Elvis Afriankara. Never. The commission didn't find anything. So, like President Akufo-Addo is doing, President Mahama could have also said, Claire, stay in your post. Claire, oh, nothing has happened. But he still took some action just to satisfy the quest of people to see something being done. So he removed him from the sports ministry.
But then he was reassigned to the presidency.
That is not a promotion. You ask anybody.
If you work at the presidency, is a demotion.
To be taken from a minister to a presidential staffer, that is not a promotion. Everybody knows
that. It's a demotion.
That is not a promotion.
To work at the presidency is a demotion.
Hughes,
is that it? I'm asking. I want to be educated.
Don't you know that to be a minister of state, especially a cabinet minister, where you attend cabinet meetings, is more important than presidential staffer? Do I have to tell you that?
I don't know.
Presidential staffers don't attend cabinet meetings, for God's sake. We know that. So to be taken from them, that is action. So I'm saying that you can say that you can disagree with the method. You can say it could have been harsher. But I am saying that even when President Mahama believed his appointees were not wrong, he still didn't leave them. He still did something.
So that's what you want a president to do.
What I'm saying is that what the president has been doing is clearing his people. They make allegations of chief of staffs. He listens to them and they explain to him and he says, okay, no problem. The minister, deputy minister, they sell chairs around him. He listens to them and he says, oh, there's really no issue. There is National Identification Authority deal. Kennedy Ajapong raises hell. He listens to them and he says, oh, there's no issue. And I'm saying that that attitude does not engender confidence about a man who is committed to fight corruption. And I'm comparing it to the immediate past, where you had a president who, even when he had, any sign of corruption and investigated and had reports that showed that the people were innocent, he still took action.
We need to go.
Not pleasant action.
So answer this for me. Are you playing political mischief? Is the minority playing political mischief?
We are making this call not because of political mischief, but because we are saddened by the way the president and his government seem to be dealing with allegations of this nature.
Thank you very much.
So we think that when it comes to the floor of parliament, some seriousness will be attached to it, and perhaps we will get some very good answers.
Honorable Alex says you're using the wrong method.
Johnny,
we are not,
wouldn't you get a better answer
if
you file an urgent question? Wouldn't you get a better answer? Wouldn't you get a better answer?
He says no.
If you file an urgent question,
we will still get an answer if we go by this motion.
So with this motion, what would it achieve? A motion.
We will get an answer.
Motion to what effect?
We will get an answer.
No, let's educate the public on parliamentary proceedings. There is a motion to recall parliament.
Right.
So my question to you: what would this motion achieve? What is the motion about?
Parliament will decide if we should, for example, set up a bipartisan committee to look into this matter.
How would it take place?
Why would you know the procedures? The motion will be moved, and the request will be made of the speaker. And if the speaker deems the request fit, that will be done.
It will be put to vote.
Well, it will be put to vote, and we expect that people like you who abhor corruption will also join us. We expect you to join us. Don't just look at it as an NDC matter. Look at it as a Ghanaian matter.
Could you have asked an urgent question? Could you have made a statement?
You see, there are several options open.
I think
and
that
the fact
I
that
think
we
that
choose this option does not make it wrong.
You see, I know.
You know that
because of the disagreement. Listen,
the option taken is not wrong. Is it the wrong option?
No, let me tell you.
No, is it the wrong option?
NDC is bitter because the altercation between Okujeto Ablakwa and Carlos, and you want to just embarrass.
Is that it? Is that the basis of it? Okay.
No, of course. That's what will. No, that's what you are doing.
Embarrass the minister.
No. You want to embarrass
tomorrow, the gentleman will meet in Parliament. The gentleman will meet in Parliament. The Honourable Alexander Afenyomakin is the MP for Futu. He is a member of the MPP's communication team, and the Honourable Alhassan Suhini is also the Honourable member for Tamale North. And he speaks for the NDC as well. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
There are some presidential flag bearers who want to embarrass Allah.
The arguments will continue. The debate will continue in court, in Parliament tomorrow. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for coming.
Well. So, of course, the TV license brouhaha has not stopped. We're still talking about it. And joining me in studio to give us a better perspective to this is Mr. William Ampem-Daku. He was the former Director General at the Ghana Broadcasting Corporation. Good morning and Happy New Year.
Good morning.
So you have served in that position at GBC, and so you seem to have a better perspective of what really is going in for this TV license issue that we've been talking about. First up, I'd like to ask you, with hindsight, knowing the challenges that face GBC and the TV license issue that is coming up, do you think that GBC being allocated 73% of whatever revenues will be collected, supposing this TV license is paid, is a good stance to start off with?
Well, I think even the 72% is not enough, because with the apportionment of the money, some of the money is going to the National Media Commission. Some 15% is going to the Ghana Independent Broadcasters Association. TV licensing is for public service broadcasting, funding of public service broadcasting. Because I can't imagine a poor farmer in Kade paying 36 cedis to some of these rich investors in the media industry. I don't think TV licenses should be used to finance someone's private interest, private commercial interest. It should be used strictly for public service broadcasting, and I will go for 100% for GBC.
Mr. Ampem-Daku, that will hold if GBC was not doing commercial activities. But as it stands now, GBC is seemingly acting like a private-owned company because they do, perform commercial activities. So until then, do you still stand by it that GBC should receive even 73% or 72% and then 3% as is being allocated?
I wouldn't say that we have a global best practice for funding of public service broadcasters. In some countries, it's funded exclusively by TV license fee. And they don't do any form of advertising. The government doesn't give them subvention. In other jurisdictions, they collect the TV license and do advertising, commercial activity. And even in other jurisdictions, like what is happening in Ghana, we want to collect the TV license, do advertising, and finally, government subvention. And that is the bone of contention, whether all these monies GBC need. If we are paying the TV license very well, as the law requests all Ghanaian, responsible Ghanaians to pay, the money generated to be generated from TV license alone should be able to take care of all the needs of GBC.
Very well. So let's come back to this controversy that seems to exist, because the current Director General of GBC did say that the TV license is for content, but we understand per the law that the issue was mainly for owning the television set. Then again, as you talk about this, I'd like you to tackle the fact that GBC doesn't seem to give Ghanaians the content they so desire, for which Ghanaians patronize more of other stations than they do GBC.
I haven't heard the Director General of Ghana Broadcasting, the current Director General, saying that the TV license payment is for content production. The TV license, the payment is obligatory on any Ghanaian who wants to install broadcast signal receiving device. It could be radio or television. In the past, radio was included in some jurisdictions.
Right.
But if the Director General says that it's for content production, that's not the reason. That's not the reason for collecting TV license. But perhaps he was telling you that it was in addition to meeting other expenses, content production.
Very well. So can you tell us, so that Ghanaians go along with everyone, why we should pay the TV license? What exactly is it going to do?
Why I want you and I to pay the TV license is that the public service broadcaster has been dominated by the government of the day for so long.
Right.
But that shouldn't be the case. We Ghanaians are owners of Ghana Broadcasting Corporation, but we don't know that we are the owners. In fact, the brouhaha going on, when I hear people mentioning the government, that the government has increased TV licenses, it's not the government. It's we, the owners of Ghana Broadcasting Corporation, who have increased the TV license rates. And it was done by a parliament which we elected. So it's not a government affair. I want us to pay the TV license so that GBC, we can say GBC belongs to us. And just a minute, GBC belongs to us. GBC needs financial independence.
Right.
As long as you rush to the Minister of Information, oh, please, Lala Sulala, we need this, come and do this for us, come and do that for us, come and pay our salaries have not been paid over the past 3 years, then you become subservient to the government. But if you are financially independent and managerially independent for now, right now, on paper, GBC is managerial independent. The government doesn't appoint the Director General. Right. The Director General goes through a very rigorous interview before he's selected. Apart from few Director Generals who didn't go through interview, but the National Media Commission put them there, So the person will come to the position as Director General, Deputy Director General, through his own effort.
Right.
So he has independence. The President of the day can't give him any instruction on what to do, or the Information Minister can't give him any instruction. But when it comes to finances, in fact, it's the Director General who goes to them. Please, I beg you, give us money to run our organization and this.
Mr. Pemdako, I understand you, but irrespective, even if, supposing all Ghanaians come on board to pay the TV license, okay, there's management that's going to draw budgets to allocate the monies that they receive. And remember, even if we're to pay the licenses, you can't really draw a budget based on assumptions, because not everyone may pay. We know the courts are, going into place. There are people who default and will be sent to court. And so your budget will still have to take in mind all these. And so irrespective of where the money comes from, whether it's government or yourselves, doesn't mean there's a management problem with dealing with the finances that we have for GBC as it stands.
In fact, right now, I don't know the quantum of money that they receive.
But when you were there?
Well, we were able to motivate the workers and reorientate them to generate a lot of money.
Right.
Just across your wall, you can see the TV newsroom. The TV newsroom had been abandoned for about 34 years before I joined the company, 1974, when it was abandoned. But we were able to do it through internally generated funds. Mismanagement of funds is one factor, which is creating problem at GBC. I mean, the inflow can be blocked somewhere, and the outflow too, they can open it wide rather than narrowing it.
Very well.
But if you are running an institution and your finances, the outflow is higher than the inflow, you'll be in trouble.
Very well.
That's why I hear there are about 50 million cedis. Because the outflow is more than the inflow.
Very well. But also there has been growing concern that if it comes to collection of the TV license, it should be GRA that does that rather than GBC. What's your view on that?
GRA is overloaded. In the past, before I joined GBC, they relied on the district assemblies to do it for a commission. The district assembly workers collected the money, and I don't know the word to use for it. The money never came to GBC. And the value books too were not returned. They collected the money and misused the money. And somehow along the line too, the monies will come to GBC staff in the regions. The money would come to Accra. It will never come to head office.
Right.
And in fact, the system they've started now, if they don't keep close eye on it, something like that can happen. As soon as you medical doctors say when someone is getting better, relapse or
they relapse. Anyway, but finally, the courts are going to start sitting now, special courts, to deal with people who default on the payments of TV licenses. Do you think this is the right punishment for such people?
I don't think the court is sitting. They were supposed to have started at 8:30 today, but I don't know. It's a wrong decision. It's too harsh. It's too harsh for... I can pay the 36 cedis, multiples of that 36 cedis, but the
rural community
man, the guy in my farm, the laborer in my farm, I've given him a Tikopo television, an old Tikopo television.
Right.
If you go to him right now that you're going to collect the 36, even if he has the money, he won't pay because the incidence of that tax is so high. 36 out of how much does he earn a month? Look at the percentage.
That means you have a problem with the amounts that we're to pay. But supposing we were to pay at all, do you have a specific idea of what the rural person should pay, what the person living in the city also should pay? Should it have been taken into consideration?
Yeah, that's the more reason why, you know, the incidence of that tax should be less on the poor, vulnerable, and the rural people have a lot of money. Right now, electricity, most people, I don't know, substantial consumers prepay their electricity, unlike those days when it was postpaid. So I would have suggested that we should have added a certain percentage, like the way street light has a percentage on the electricity bill, and at the end of the month, whatever money is collected by electricity, I use a lot of electricity in my home. So if I use about 1,000 cedis in my home, and it's 1%, calculate for me.
Well, then
10
cedis, yeah.
That is, I will be paying 10 cedis. My farm laborer, sometimes 20 cedis. He uses one bulb, one small fridge, and the television, and a point for ironing. So sometimes a whole week, 20 cedis, a whole month, 20 cedis.
That's all he has to learn.
So he will be paying 1/50th of 10 cedis. Right. 1/50th of 10 cedis. That is so 20 pesos or thereabouts.
It is.
So
they certainly should have taken
that. I think we should be piggybacking on electricity, prepaid electricity bills, so that the affluent or the people who are capable of paying pay more, and those who are not capable of paying pay less.
Certainly. Thank you very much, Mr. William Ampemdaku. He's the former Director General of the Ghana Broadcasting Corporation, and he's been sharing his own views on the TV license brouhaha. Certainly, we have more for you here on New Day, so stay tuned with us. We'll be right back.
We're wrapping up the show, but one or two of your messages. Face the facts, Alaji. 1 year of the MPP is far better than 8 years of the NDC. Looking at how they've started, it's because opposition can't stop propaganda. Razak in the ND, GBC needs to wake up and find innovative ways to generate revenue like the other private stations who even show better TV content. And all the past governments are owing huge sums of monies that you're refusing to collect, and they are rather venting their frustrations on ordinary Ghanaians over peanut taxes. Charlie, when was the last time you watched GTV? He laughs at that. Good morning, TV3. Afinyo Mark is always saying things different from what is expected. One corner communicator, Ibrahim Ahmed Rufai in Tamale. And good morning to you and your panelists. The creation of the Office of the Special Prosecutor is waste. Corruption can be erased if we change our attitudes, but without this, corruption will still persist until the greater river dries up, or else we'll all die thinking we have lived. I am Buare B. Simon Apietus from Tongo Boga, and the TV license law should be amended because payment of the said fees will amount to double taxation. Okay, so that's how the cookie crumbles. We're excited that you could join us, and do join us again tomorrow. Tomorrow is Friday.
Happy birthday to Irabna Kusi. She was a former employer.
Irabna, baby.
Pretty black lady.
Look, you
gorgeous.
You should taste Irabna's food.
Yes.
Solid.
She's promised me Gary photo, so I'm looking forward to that tomorrow.
Kusi, happy birthday to you. It's your birthday today. Happy birthday as well. AJ is jealous that you eat Gary photo.
I know, right? Okay, it's the best Ghanaian dish you'd get when Irabna
Yesterday I saw a photo of AJ, you know, on Facebook with Stephen Appiah on his side. And I was checking Stephen Appiah's physique and AJ's, and I was...
All you could see was the pack? The one pack he has, isn't it?
Well, I didn't say that, but it's
anyway, and congratulations to Abigail. You're getting married today, Abigail, and son, you and your partner are getting engaged today, and you'll be married on Saturday. God bless your union greatly.
And to our friends at Holy Trinity Spa and Komboni Hospital, Doctor and the wife, Diana Bansa, happy anniversary to all of you, and we wish you all the best.
So have a blessed day. Tomorrow. We'll see you same time tomorrow.
Sure,
Hopefully, Right will be back with all the news.